Welcome into the Common Dad Podcast, Season 3. I said it right this time. I am your host, Justin Matthew Gray the First. I am, of course, joined by Andrew. Do I know your
my
middle
name?
Okay. Andrew. Can you give me a letter?
Wow.
No.
We'll just stick with
Gene,
the last
Gene.
name. There
Gene.
you go.
Whew.
After my grandpa.
That's right. I was stumped there for
Grandpa
a minute.
Gene.
Stumped there for a minute. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. I'm going to say this at the beginning. First of all, if you're listening, thank you so much. Second of all, if you are listening and or watching, you are surely listening and or watching on a device that has one of those little rate things where you can rate what you like you're listening to. There's usually 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars. Click that 5-star, whatever you're at. You can even rate on Spotify, which I didn't know you could do until a little bit ago. So you could do that. You can do it on Apple. You can do it on Amazon. You can do it on the YouTubes. Please do so. Thank you so much.
I think it's a thumbs up on YouTube.
I think it's a thumbs up on YouTube, but you can type in the comment 5 stars.
There you go. 5 stars.
Just do that. Just do that. So anyway, yes, thank you so much for listening. My wife left me this week for just 4 days.
Pause for dramatic effect.
For a dramatic effect. We'll cut that up as a reel right there. My wife left me this week. She left me for 4 days with the children, 3 children alone. And I'm proud to report during those 4 days,
alive.
During those 4 days, my oldest son had his first fight at school.
Nice.
So
it's really the perfect time for her to be away because that's a moment for you to be a dad.
It was good, definitely good, but the teacher called her first, right? Which is the correct idea. So I heard it from her first. But I mean, they're kindergartners, so like as much as a kindergartner fight can be, I guess. And it was a he said, she said, they were playing a game. Things got out of hand.
He got in a fight with a girl.
Well, so yeah, apparently this little person, I almost said a mean thing about a kindergartner. This little person apparently grabbed my son's shoulder and clawed into him pretty hard while playing a game. And my oldest son used the words, "I got really mad and powered up," which
you gotta level up.
Which I'm like, well, what does that mean? I just got really mad. All right. And then what happened? I think what he was going to do was retaliate against this girl. But he said he decided to just run away. And while he did that, he got tackled by another kid for whatever reason. And then that's when the teacher saw they were like rolling on the ground. No punches were thrown. No.
So he didn't
kicks.
get in a fight.
Yeah, it was like, and so this is what happened. This other child,
20 years ago, that never would have been a phone call to the parents.
Right. I'm thinking, we called that recess, right?
Exactly.
That's just like, it's just what happened. I don't know. It was
15 years from now, that other kid is going to be a 5-star tackle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I said, what happened when you got tackled? He said, I rolled on top of him. Good work. Good job. They tried to tap you out.
Him, shove him into the ground.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was fine. And the teacher called and she was like, he doesn't normally act like this. I was like, whatever. It's no
He
blood.
normally doesn't get teamed up on by 2 different people.
Right. Yeah. I was like, I'm kind of surprised he didn't punch his way out of it. I mean, he got attacked by 2 different people at the same time. Again, playing a game, but whatever. So that was fun. And then, do you remember when we did an episode on how schools scam us. Do you remember that?
Possibly.
Sorry, you were drinking that night. It's okay. Well, anyway, I found
I'll
another
remember
scam.
the context of it.
I found another scam from the public school system. So we're all familiar with, I wonder if I should say it. No, we're all familiar with a book fair, correct? A book fair that comes to the elementary schools. And if you're like, oh, I know the one. Yeah, that's the one that you're thinking of. That's the correct one. So as I said, my wife left me this week for 4 days. And my child said, hey, the book fair is in town. And my teacher said I need to bring money to school. I was like, well, I'm not giving you cash to bring to school because you're just going to lose it.
That's what they want.
So I go to the book fair's website, right? And it allows you to make an account for your child. I was like, all right, that's better than sending cash, whatever. So he wanted a book that was $10. I put 15 in, just accounting for some tax. So I sent him to school. I said, tell the lady at the cashier you have an account. The website says you could look it up. Cool. So I text my wife who left me that week. And I said, hey, I made an account. She says, oh, crap, I did too. And she put $30 in the account. So now my son.
You can't get it back either, can you?
No, you can't get it back. But we have another son who will be in kindergarten next year. There will be book fairs. We could keep whatever. But it's $45 we've put towards books. I explicitly told my oldest son, you are allowed to buy this book, this one book that you wanted. That's what you want. And there will be money left over. That is for another book at a later time. Okay, Dad, thanks. So he goes to school with $45 in his account. He comes home with 5 books.
Nice. Smart kid.
Well,
hey, you can't get mad at him. He's trying to read.
Well, that's where the story continues. What books, you ask? A book about
Dinosaurs.
monster trucks, a book about sharks, a book about slime, which I don't even know. Is slime an actual? It seems.
Hold on, I'm still behind the monster trucks.
And they all came
That's
with
cool.
toys, of course. There were books with like toys in front. And then he bought a Captain Underpants book, which I was very happy to see that was still going.
Captain Underpants still around and kicking.
Still around. And then he just bought a tube of slime, which thank God they had at the book fair.
Helps you read
and I
the
said,
book.
well, hey, man, what happened? We had a plan. The plan was one book. He goes, yeah, I picked up my shark book, like you said, Daddy. And it's my first son. He's pretty honest. He doesn't know when to lie. He just tells the truth. So I think. So I tend to believe him. I picked up my one book and I went to the cashier, like you told me. And I told her I have an account. And she told me I had more money and to go pick out more books. So, of course, any green light you give a kindergartner, So shout out to a particular book fair for pressuring my child into buying books.
No, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, $45.
That's none of her business. She had no business telling your son to go spend money. She has no idea what that's allocated for. If you had another son in a different class that was going through the same book fair, that's not on her. It's your account.
I was pretty pissed. It's happened the same day as the fight, and I was like, I kind of want to fight the cashier.
I mean, imagine both of them were in the same school, and one of them goes through and buys 5 books, and then the next one goes to buy the book he picked out, and there's no money in the account.
And there's none left. Yep.
And now he doesn't get his book at all.
Yep.
It's not up to that person.
So yeah, we made a phone call, and of course,
my wife would make a phone call and make someone cry.
Of course, there was. Oh, we're not sure who was running the cashier. Oh, well, great, good.
We're not sure.
I guarantee
you know exactly who it is. There's not a line of people there working the register.
I'm glad to know there's just random adults around my children that we really don't know who they are or where they're from or when they're there. They're just willy-nilly. It's like it's like when you go to Jamaica or Bahamas, there's just people selling stuff left and right. That's what the book fair is, apparently. So yeah, shout out to my local public school system. They're For sure, killing it. Anyway, so if anybody wants, maybe we can do that for story time. We can do a monster truck book or a shark book.
We could do that.
Yeah, they're all copywritten though. So anyway,
we'll make up our own. We'll write our own stories from here on out.
Yeah. How was your week, Andrew Jean Holland?
Busy. Work. And of course, I work hybrid from home and the office, and my home internet went out halfway through the week.
Oh, is that important?
Moderately. Couple customer service calls and a crying service representative later, and my internet works. And we got refunded some money. So.
You made them cry, right?
My wife seems to think that I was the one that may have tipped him over the edge a tiny bit.
Oh, so it was like a teamwork deal?
Yeah, well, she was on the phone with him, and then he was spewing some nonsense that was just designed by some corporate somewhere to get her to get confused. And I actually know, one or maybe two things about technology. And I immediately interjected at that point, and he could not stand up to me at all.
I got to give it to you guys. The other half of Andrew is off screen. But if you ever have the privilege to go anywhere with this couple or have to deal with a particular issue with this couple,
stand up for yourself.
They will break said third party. Absolutely.
Stand up for yourself.
And you will get free things, probably.
Pizza delivery company, whatever, deserved every bit of that phone call that my wife made.
Absolutely. Yeah, that 16-year-old behind the register.
We don't know who it was.
Fully deserved those tears. Oh, man.
Hey, don't have guaranteed delivery clauses unless you expect to live up to them.
That's true.
I think that situation was something about the delivery. So, I mean, what else are you going to complain about with a pizza company? Like,
I have a pizza delivery story that we'll share for next week where it involved my wife not cursing out somebody, but breaking somebody to the point to where they gave in, and come to find out my wife was 100% in the wrong. Absolutely.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, anyway, we'll just jump right into it. She had a little discount card that she thought was for.
We've done that before.
And it was really for another place.
Say the name. We got to bleep that out.
Whatever, it's fine. And she was like, "I want my discount," and it was over the phone. And they were like, "Fine," and they gave it to her. And then I grabbed the card. I'm like, "Honey, this is not their store." They did not have to honor entirely. This at all. And not only did she do this one time, this is a weekly thing for, here's the best part,
church
youth group at church. So, shout out to Jesus and people crying over pizza.
Free pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they weren't free. We paid for it, but it was a heavy discount. Those kids needed it. Anyway, on to the topic at hand. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to introduce this with the way that this topic came about, because it's quite a story. I'll leave out the details and the names, but we got a invitation for somebody to come on our show, which is kind of weird.
He wanted to bless us with his presence.
Correct. There you go. And this person had a particularly strong Instagram following within the, I don't know, like 17, 18,000s. It was good.
You can buy followers nowadays, right?
Of course you can. Which that's exactly, turns out that's what he was doing. But anyway, at first glance, I was like, wow, that's, why does he want to come on our show? I am aware of what we are at this moment in time of growth, and we're certainly not there, but nevertheless, cool offer. So we dig into this a little bit, and we start looking at his Instagram page. And this is a person who would you guys say his content is based around fatherhood?
Based around fatherhood, masculinity, male, dad, leadership.
Kind of in our same line, but in a different lane. I don't know. But yeah, so in that, but his deal was he had like a workout regimen that he sold, from what I could gather. I didn't look for too long because every video was just him with his shirt off flexing. So it felt like the same reel over and over. And then he had a podcast sample that we could listen to see what he would be like as a guest. So we listened to it. And as the podcast went on between this gentleman that wanted to come on to our show and the host, it was clear to me that this person was, I'm trying not to be too mean, but
special.
Just not mentally stable. Is that fair? I felt a little unhinged.
I felt as though he was putting on a show.
Okay, that's probably
he was
better.
Acting.
Okay,
he was acting. He created this persona that was his internet persona, and he was. Yeah. It didn't feel real.
Probably wasn't actually him. I would agree.
It was a mask that he put on for the internet to try to pretend to be something that he was not. Yeah,
I think that's a good description. So as this podcast went on, and I actually listened to all of it because it got more entertaining as it went on.
I listened to maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, wanted to see what this was going. And as it went on, it occurred to me that this man was, I suppose what we're talking about today was the toxic masculinity. And there was a couple lines that stood out to me. The main one was, they're talking about fitness and how much time you have in a day. And the host asked the guy, how much sleep do you need? His response was, quote, I don't need, quote, unquote.
I'm a man.
I'm sorry. That was a different quote. He said, I don't need anything. When talking about sleep, I don't need anything. Okay.
He's a manly man.
Right. Yeah. Just very manly man. And I'm thinking, I think scientifically you do need sleep. So that was troubling and stupid. And even the host went along with it pretty well the whole time. But that comment, he was like, oh, okay. All right, then. Don't need sleep. I'll jot that down. And then another thing came up about, and this is what really, I don't want to say it pissed me off, but it was just kind of like, this is a little reckless, I would say, for a person with so many robots following him, a little reckless. When on the topic of his mental health, as far as if he is needing, some emotional stability, something like that. And the host kind of asked him, how do you get that from your family? When you need something, and that's when the quote came in is I don't need, and he's
a man, Justin. He
doesn't
man. Need it.
He is a man. He's primal. And his idea was that, no matter what, he was going to put his family first, which the idea of that is noble. I get that. But you can't continually put
aren't
off.
You a part of that family?
Right. And I'm a pansy for thinking this way, right? But his idea was that he would continually starve himself emotionally no matter what, because his family needed him. And he would just put himself last, which I think as part of a father and a leader of a family, you need to do sometimes. Would you agree?
That sounds miserable in a sense, though, because it's like, we each have sons,
right?
I'm not like, I don't starve myself of emotion or anything like that, but certainly as you raise up your children, my kids are incredibly giving in everything they do. Mm-hmm. So my oldest we'll go to like an arcade and we'll get the little tickets and things like that, and we'll go to the completely overpriced scam of you trade your tickets for tchotchkes that are not worth what you're paying for them. And when he goes to pick out what he wants, he gets something for himself and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
not just himself. We don't tell him that. We don't ask him to. We don't say anything. It's just that's what he does. He got a gift card to Target for one of his birthdays. What did he do? He went and picked out something for his younger brother and even a dog toy for our dog with his money. He's 8.
Yeah.
He is expressing emotion. And so if you're starving yourself of emotion as a dad, are you rejecting his emotion then? Or are
purpose,
you telling him he
happen.
shouldn't express that emotion? Are you teaching him to stifle that same love? Like, that whole concept to me sounds miserable.
You cannot tell your children one thing with words and then do the opposite. You can tell all you want, but they're going to do what you're doing. Like, and to me, I'm listening to it, and it was kind of sad. Like, yeah, I made fun of him a little bit. I was just like, man, you're going to make your family and your kids happy in the short term. But like, that's not sustainable for you. Like, there's no way you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Well, your kids are going to want to love you. And if your whole motto is, I don't want love.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. Send your kids away.
And it wasn't necessarily, I don't want love.
You're putting them first by rejecting their love.
Yeah. It was, I'm not going to ask for anything from my family. And it's like, some of my coolest conversations with, I would probably say my older son to this point, have been like me asking him, like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, I remember asking him, and of course it's way over his head, but like, you know, hey, buddy, what do you think about this career? Like, when I changed careers, I just like, what do you think about, what would you think if daddy did this instead of this? And I was home more, and what do you think? And, you know, he didn't give me any profound answer, but it was like, you know, I opened up to him a little bit. Not that I was going to listen to his career advice, but, you know, cool to see what he thought. Open up a little bit. Let him show that. I guess what I try to do in that moment is to show him that I don't have all the answers, and I kind of want to know what you think. I know you're 6 years old, but I still want to know what you think about this. And it's like, I think if you don't ever do that, what do you think don't you think your kids would eventually do that to you?
To some degree, yeah. I mean, they're going to model the behavior that they're subjected to regularly because they're going to think that that's normal.
Yeah.
That's the way they should act.
And it just doesn't feel. So I didn't introduce the topic, by the way. We're talking about toxic masculinity. And we kind of jumped right in here. But it doesn't seem healthy. It doesn't seem.
Well, I think there's a reason they call it toxic.
Yeah, for sure. That would
just say that would kind of in the name
insinuate it not being healthy. So I dove into this a lot this week, just kind of like looking, you know, scouring the internet, seeing what professionals thought, or regular people thought, and it was pretty interesting. There was a wide array of opinions, of course, when you go on the internet, but I didn't think it was a thought There we go. Print that up, put that on a t-shirt. I didn't think it was a thought that toxic masculinity doesn't exist. It's not a thing. There are some people out there that think that a man should be as masculine as he should and could possibly be. And then, of course, there's the opposite extreme where if you hold a door for a woman, that's toxic.
You're a misogynist, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're just a total piece of garbage and you think the woman can't open the door by herself and, you know, you should be put underground for breeding purposes only. And I live my life in the middle ground. So
you're highlighting extremes.
Of course. Yes. Yes.
I think the general populace doesn't believe either one of those, but I would tend to think that most people believe that toxic masculinity exists.
I
on
think
the
you're
extreme
right.
spectrum, just not that most men are that way, but that, there are those few out there, you know, that yeah, they're 100% toxic masculinity. Like, they are the definition. You see him and you're like, yep, that's it.
So
I don't need a definition, but he's it.
I'm so glad you said those exact words right there, because I was thinking, I was like, all right, if we're going to talk about this, first let's define it. And I probably thought like a solid like 3 or 4 days, like I don't know if it's definable. Like in a short sentence, you know, like you would find in a dictionary. But if I could steal a quote from Ted Lasso when he was talking about defining something, defining offsides in soccer, he said, I'm going to define that the same way as Supreme Court defined pornography. I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it. And that's exactly how I feel like toxic masculinity. Just like you said, I don't know what it is, but when I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's an example. So I don't know if there's like a true definition, but there's certainly some indicators. And the first one I kind of see through all of them is the act of it seems to be like ego driven. Does that make sense? Would you agree, Doctor?
Well, Doctor. So, I mean, I have a few resources that I just kind of checked just to brush up on the topic. I was curious as well. And from what I found, it was basically boiled down to 3 attributes. Ego didn't necessarily come into it, but I think ego is what drives the 3 attributes. And the 3 attributes that this article I read said was toughness, anti-femininity, femininity. I feel like Nemo.
Yeah.
Femininity.
Anti-feminism.
And power.
Okay.
So toughness, they have to be tough.
Yep.
They have to be anti anything feminine because they're a man. They can't.
Sure.
None of that female stuff.
Mm-mm.
And then the ultimate goal is power. You combine those 3 attributes, you know, an excessive amount of toughness. I'm not talking about, you know, like just a dad who's, you know, just being tough in a, you know, environment where he needs to be tough in his, you know, competition. But like that excessive toughness, not just like masculine things, but anti anything feminine.
Right.
And then power. You combine those 3 attributes, and yeah, that's a pretty good definition of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. I think that sums that up pretty perfectly. Who was it? Gosh, he's super popular on Instagram. He's an older guy, does a lot of debates. Jordan
Peterson.
Yes. He had a quote that I thought was really interesting. All of his quotes are. He's very intelligent.
Pretty smart guy.
We're trying to get him on the podcast. We just couldn't pencil him in. So whatever. We're tough to get on. But anyway, he had a quote about a man being dangerous. And you've heard this.
I've heard this one.
He said a man should be dangerous. And I don't know the rest of the quote, but that's you know, a man should be dangerous. And on the surface, it sounded like toxic masculinity, but I don't think that's the same as toughness.
What he's saying is that a man should have the capability,
yes,
for danger, for aggression, not aggression, but you want to have the ability.
Indicator, I think. Yes,
you want to have the ability to defend your family and you want to have the ability to be dangerous, but the mental composure and capacity to know when to use it. If you're weak and you're gentle, then it doesn't mean anything. But if you are genuinely a force to be reckoned with and you are gentle, then there's obviously power within that dynamic because you are choosing to be gentle. It's a choice. It's now a psychological trait in your decision of when to use it and when not to use it. If you don't have the capacity to be dangerous, then being gentle doesn't mean anything. You physically can't be anything but that.
All right, boys and girls, the merch is here. I got this nice new hat from our brand new merch site. Brand new logo on it. Nice, clean, crispy. Got the green bill underneath. Vintage. Not only do we have hats, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got mugs. Look, I don't know if we got socks. I don't know if we got underwear. Whatever you want, let us know what you want. We'll get it if we don't have it. But before you do that, go to the brand new merch store. The link is either above me, left, right. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere on this page. Find it, click it, check out the new store. It's got our brand new logo on there. You'll love everything. I highly recommend the hat. It's a beautiful hat. Nice little snapback. If you're a hat guy, you will love it. It's already my go-to. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Go get some merch. Support your favorite show. We love you, and we will see you later. Let's go into that a little bit more because I do think... So I kind of wanted to break this down into 3 different areas, more or less, as far as where toxic masculinity tends to rear its head. We kind of already touched on the family aspect of it. But kind of the man and the woman aspect of it, and the man protecting his family or protecting his spouse. Because I'm not on the other end of the spectrum of, well, no, it doesn't need to be like that at all. It should be, I'm not on that end of it, but I'm also not on the end of ultra macho, I need to not only be tough, but I need to show that I am tough. And I think you used a really good word, aggression. Aggression is never, for me, it's almost never good because it feels a little unhinged. It's not controlled.
That's an emotion. That's
yes.
an emotional reaction that takes place in the physical.
Yeah, like aggression feels like you got to show somebody that you're dangerous, not that you actually are. But I do tend to agree that it is a man's duty to be able to protect his family and his spouse. Mm-hmm. To a certain degree.
Not to a certain degree. I mean, if push comes to shove and you were to be presented with a situation, I think most people would think it's very reasonable that, within the partnership of your marriage and within the hierarchy of your household, it falls on you to defend your house, to stand your ground, to protect that which you worked for.
Is it too far to say it is a man or a husband's duty to protect the household?
I
don't think it is.
I mean,
I feel that's fair.
To some degree, I think some of that depends on the arrangements that you have. Okay. I think when you get married, you go through a ceremony and you commit yourselves to each other, into a partnership, into an agreement, into, all these different things. I think, yes, there are somewhat of hidden expectations in there, hidden responsibilities that, you're in a partnership with this person.
Yeah.
You're, love and protect. Like it's in the vows, at least most vows. I mean, depending on if you use the pre-scripted vows or not, but like, or is it love and honor?
To love and protect.
I don't even know now. Is it love and honor? But no, I think it's your commitment is to that person. And so if at the first sign of trouble, you're the first one out the door and she's standing there and she's like, well, wait a second.
Right. It's not.
You're halfway down the block already.
Yeah. You haven't held up your end of the bargain.
You haven't really held up your end of the partnership. In taking care, I mean, you guys are a team and you're halfway down the street.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you need to be able to bench 600 pounds and crush a man's skull with your pinky finger and like hunt for food. Again, that's, I think, where you go from being masculine, being a leader, being a father, being a husband, into toxic masculinity.
I think the word you said there was lead. Because, you can, I would say the best leaders don't lead with the toughness aspect. They lead with the, I have a plan, tactic. So I kind of went back and forth on this one for a little bit because I am a little bit of a control freak when it comes to like when the family is leaving the house, right? Like we're going to the mall, we're going wherever on a trip, road trip or whatever. I tend to, for whatever reason, I don't know if I'm nervous. I don't know if this is me being an alpha. Which by the way is another thing that I saw all of, the man's got to be an alpha, like a lion. I was like, well, no, we're not lions. Anyway, but I tend to take the approach of, especially when the mall is a perfect example. I take the approach of being very watchful. I tend to be very observant of where my kids are in as far as between me and my wife. I like to keep them in between, and maybe this is super overprotective, but I'm not trying to have one of my kids nabbed up. And I am very observant of everything around me. I'm constantly just kind of just watching. And that's not, and I think that some people on the extreme end would say, well, that's toxic masculinity. Why can't a woman do that? I'm not saying my wife can't, because my wife's a Venezuelan and she certainly can. And she is certainly also doing that. But I tend to take the lead there, and it's not.
Well, there's different characteristics. There's different. I mean, sure, okay. Some of it's
and that's
natural.
just an example. Yeah.
You know, is it natural because you've been raised that way, or is it natural because it's genuinely built into your DNA?
Yeah.
In the end, you're twice the size of your wife. Yeah. In a situation where something had to happen, somebody tries to nab your children, who are you going to put in the ring? Like, yeah. You're twice the size of her.
That has to come into the discussion. Like and this is probably another podcast, but the subject of, men and women are the same. Well, no, we're not. We're quite different, especially physically. And if push come to shove, somebody attacked the family, I'm not going to be like, all right, babe, go get them. That's probably not the best one, like you said, to put out in the ring. Unless your wife is, Ronda Rousey, then by all means.
No, but that doesn't mean that there aren't extreme scenarios where maybe those roles are reversed.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I think you can still have masculinity within those dynamics. I mean, certainly if I was married to Ronda Rousey, what? I'm probably gonna put Ronda Rousey in the ring. She probably stands a better chance than I do.
You know what, hon? I could get this, but my hammy is just a touch sore. If you could do one of them spinning kick flips where you grab their face with your thighs and choke them out, that'd be awesome. Do that again.
Go save my family for me.
Yeah, that's the move.
You're certainly going to have those situations, but I think those are few and far between.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a difference between masculinity and you can be masculine in those situations and have a recognition with you and your partner that like each of you has a skill set.
Yes.
You have strengths and you have weaknesses, and certain people are going to be better at handling certain things, whether it's the groceries or whether it's stepping into the ring to defend your family. Mm-hmm. Like each of you are going to have different skills, and it's your job as a partnership to get the job done, whatever the job is. And there's a difference then there when you step over to like the toxic masculinity where it's all men have to be sitting here beating their chests, howling at the moon and sparring.
Yeah.
No,
like the 300. I was very concerned at the amount of little 5-minute talks of men comparing themselves to pick an animal, a wolf, a lion. And I'm like, buddy, we're not those things. We're not animals. We're actually
we built buildings,
right? Yeah, we're way above those things. Yeah, we're way above those things. We have penicillin and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was kind of disturbing.
I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of that toxic masculinity comes from insecurity.
Absolutely, yes,
it's where it all is.
Yeah, it's there's a clip, and maybe we can show it in preview of this one of remember Macho Man Randy Savage, the old wrestler?
Yeah.
And he's doing an interview.
I think I know the clip you're talking about.
This is the best part about, I wasn't a big wrestler guy at all, but the one thing I remember about these wrestlers like in the 80s is, if I remember correctly, and I wasn't alive then, so if I read correctly, they like were not allowed to break character. So if they were in the airport, you were freaking Hulk Hogan. Like, you weren't just a guy. You had to be. So like, these guys went around in character all the time. But this guy, he's on a couch somewhere, Macho Man Randy Savage, and he's like, has Macho Man Randy Savage ever cried? And I'm not going to do a Macho Man impression, but he's like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, Macho Man has cried, He's like, and he says, I think he says, he's like, I think it's important for a man to express all of his emotions. And it's just like, that's Macho Man. Like,
yeah,
if Macho Man says it's okay to cry, like, we're okay. So it was, we got to show that clip and compare my Macho Man impression.
Okay, your middle name is Macho, but I'm wondering if you ever cry. Has Macho Man ever cried?
Oh yeah.
Really?
It's okay for macho men to show every emotion available right there, because I've cried 1,000 times, I'm going to cry some more. But I've soared with the eagles and I've slithered with the snakes and I've been everywhere in between. And I'm going to tell you something right now. There's one guarantee in life, and that there are no guarantees. Yeah. And understand this. Yeah. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody said life was easy. So if you get knocked down, take the standing 8 count, get back up and fight again. And you're a macho maniac. Dig it.
But so in that same line of like the kind of protecting the family and everything, what about the toxic masculinity that can exist in just the man to woman relationship, and not necessarily a spouse, but like I brought up the some people think it is offensive for a man to hold a door for a woman. Not a lot. I think that's on the pretty extreme side. But I've certainly heard it before. I don't think it's misogynistic.
Well, I think where that gets toxic is where the man starts to expect certain things from the woman and refuses to pitch in on certain things. So the dishes, for an example, it's a very, very, stereotypical, historically speaking, that was always the woman's role. The dishes, the laundry, the cleaning, the household maintenance things, those were all very, those were the woman's job.
Your 1960s
the man goes and makes the money and does the
sitcom.
job, and the women stay at home. I think where your toxic masculinity presents is those people are unwilling to pitch in with those things. I have no problem doing the dishes or flipping the load of laundry or folding laundry when, again, it's a partnership. If my wife is out, if my wife leaves me for 4 days on business,
sure,
and I'm home alone, guess what? I'm not just going to pile the dishes up and wait for her to get home.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do some dishes. And I think where that toxic masculinity comes in is he's just going to pile those dishes up because that's not his job.
Could you imagine 4 days, your wife comes home, dishes touches the ceiling, you're just sitting in you're sitting in your underwear drinking water out of a bowl because it's the only thing left. Get to work, honey.
I saved it for you.
Right. My job is to protect the family. Yeah, and I don't see that a lot, but I've certainly heard that before, that's the thought process. But I think you've touched on it twice now, is it's a partnership. Like especially if it's a spouse, you're in it together. But even if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or if it's you're just going out on a date with somebody for the first time, I have never, and I don't see a problem with holding the door for a woman. I don't see a problem, taking your coat off, if it's raining. To me, those are what should be basic manners, but it feels like that slowly that's being turned into toxic masculinity because, the woman can't protect. It's like, no, at what point is the line? Like, at what point does being nice cross the line of insulting. You know what I
When
mean?
you hold the door open for somebody else.
Yes, man. Like it's. By the way, have you ever had the privilege of?
Can I
not
open your car door for you? What, you don't think I
Yes.
can open it myself?
Yeah, it's like, you know what? And then
That's
you lock
exactly
the door.
what I was thinking. You nailed it right on the head.
That's it. Yeah, it's just like. But then on the flip side, on the extreme, again, from what I saw on the interwebs, was it's a man's job, especially like in pursuing a woman, that a man should be very aggressive and can and should talk to a woman how he pleases, you know.
It's a
And I'm
great,
just like,
I mean,
I'm just like,
you,
what the
if
hell?
you spend any time with women, you would know that's
Any.
not a good strategy
Anytime.
at all.
That on that, like, and I'm like, yeah, you're a 45-year-old man with washboard abs and can't sort out why you're single because you think you're a lion. Like,
And you
just-
walk into the bar with the cheesiest pickup lines while,
ugh,
shirtless.
yeah. Yeah, you got bedazzled jeans on, an Ed Hardy schmedium t-shirt, like, and just you're baffled every night that I don't know why. It's just, and I thought that would like kind of die out, because I remember seeing those people in high school, like, man, what a group of idiots. And I think the internet kind of brought on an entire new wave of this alpha male.
A lot of people out there, and you know what? The community likes to laugh. So
I mean, it's certainly good.
I think a lot of those people have followers not because the followers believe in that, but everybody loves entertainment.
It's just a good laugh. Yeah. And again, it's kind of sad, because it's like, and especially with the men who have a wife and have children, and it's like, especially the ones who have children. Because again, we touched on it. It's like, man, your kids are gonna do what you're gonna do, and you're raising just a little tool bag. Like that's what
Pretty much.
that's what you're doing. Like, you're teaching your son how to treat a woman by how you talk, or you're teaching your daughter how she should be treated by a man. And it's, I don't know. I think if you're single, it is what it is. But if you're a father, again, I used this word earlier, I think we have a duty to be ultra aware of those things. Because like I said, they're not going to do what we say. They never do what we say. They do what we do. Like 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to kind of read up on, and especially the notion of toxic masculinity doesn't exist. It's just bro out as hard as you freaking possibly can. And there's a large portion of people that are like that. And it's we'll
see if that survives 2023. 'Cause I feel like,
I mean, people can thrive on the internet.
certainly even
doing pretty dumb
just
stuff.
normal masculinity is being attacked at the moment. So
that's a good topic to wrap this up on, because I think we should push back always on toxic masculinity, but I think we should also always push back on, a man does need to be a certain amount of masculine, a normal, healthy.
you should be dangerous with
You
the
should be.
knowledge of, how to use it.
Absolutely. And I feel like there will always be pushback on that, especially as we move forward into the future, as opposed to backward into the future. And on the flip side, there should be femininity, right? But in a natural, normal, healthy state. And you said it several times, it's a partnership, and I firmly believe there are male and female on this planet for a particular reason, because it's a delicate balance, and a family needs to have both, or doesn't need to have both, I should say, but it's best to have both, I would say. And if you're a single parent out there, I'm absolutely not crapping on you, because you're doing everything you can do. And God bless you, but it's best to have. What's that?
I said that can't be easy.
No, I can't imagine. I tried to do it for 4 days. I'm happy my kids are alive. Like that's it. That's all. I came out of that. She came home. I'm like, we did it. Nobody's dead. And that was my expectation, right? But I think this world is best with masculinity and feminism in it, but not the extreme of either, because both are insane. If you've ever talked to a super masculine dude or a super feminine woman, it sucks. It's not fun.
You know it when you see it.
You know it when you see it. I think that's how we end this. You know it when you see it. If you have any thoughts, comments, this is a pretty
If you're
interesting.
toxic and masculine,
Show
us a
us a
5-star
picture.
review below with a comment.
With a picture of your abs in your workout regimen, and I want to know what you eat every day, you lion of a man. Thank you guys so much for listening. Do not forget to, unprofessional. Do not forget to follow, subscribe, go to our YouTube channel, hit the little ring button. I don't know if I've said this before, but it is 1000% free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All you have to do is
that may
click
change in the future when we're super famous.
Yeah, it's
So
free
like,
now.
get it now while you can.
Get it while it's hot. Get in now. Get in for free now. So subscribe to that bad boy. If you're listening via podcast on Spotify, Apple, whatever, leave a little 5-star rate. And, if you're an incredible human being, you might even write a little review. Make it a good one, though. If you have anything bad to say, just email us. That doesn't need to be public at all. So thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.